Have you ever asked yourself why you keep falling into the same patterns in love? Why some people seem calm and confident in relationships while others constantly fear being abandoned, or feel trapped the moment intimacy gets too close? The answer is not random. It's not fate. It's something far deeper. Something that Mary Ainsworth, one of the greatest minds in psychology, discovered decades ago. She showed us that our earliest bonds with caregivers create invisible blueprints inside of us. These blueprints shape the way we love, the way we fight, the way we trust, and the way we fear. She called it attachment theory. And within this theory, we find three powerful styles that dominate the landscape of love: secure, anxious, and avoidant. Later research added a fourth: disorganized. But tonight, we will focus on the three foundations that explain so much of our struggles and triumphs in relationships. Think of it this way. When you were a child, you didn't just learn how to walk or talk. You also learned how to connect. You learned whether reaching out for love would be met with warmth, indifference, or rejection. That lesson never disappeared. It lives inside you, quietly guiding your choices in love today. Imagine two people. One grew up with a parent who was consistent, loving, and responsive. That person often grows into an adult who feels secure in relationships, able to trust, to give, to receive love without panic. Another child grew up with love that was unpredictable, sometimes warm, sometimes absent. That person may become anxious in love, constantly seeking reassurance, always afraid the other person will leave. And then there's the child who learned that showing need was met with rejection or irritation. That person may grow into an avoidant adult, fiercely independent, afraid of relying on anyone, building walls instead of bridges. Now pause for a moment. Think about your own relationships. Do you see yourself in one of these patterns? Do you find yourself craving closeness, or pushing it away, or living in balance? These patterns aren't coincidences. They are the echoes of your first bonds. But here's the good news. Attachment is not destiny. It's a map, not a prison. By understanding whether your style is secure, anxious, or avoidant, you gain the power to change your patterns, to heal your wounds, and to build the kind of love that feels safe, real, and lasting. In this journey, we will uncover each style one by one. We'll explore how they develop, how they show up in love, and most importantly, how you can move toward the security you deserve. Because love is not just a mystery, it's a science. And Mary Ainsworth gave us the tools to decode it. So let's begin. In the next part, we will step inside the anxious heart, the longing, the fear, the hunger for reassurance that shapes so many love stories. And perhaps your own. Let's step into the world of the anxious attachment style, a style born not from weakness, but from uncertainty. Imagine a child who sometimes receives love and comfort, but other times meets distance, distraction, or even silence. For this child, love becomes unpredictable. They never know if the hug will come, if the smile will appear, if the need will be met. And so they learn to hold on tighter, to cry louder, to do whatever it takes to keep love from slipping away. Fast forward to adulthood, and the same pattern emerges in romantic relationships. Anxiously attached adults often crave closeness and reassurance. They want to feel secure, but deep down they fear abandonment. A partner not answering a text right away might spark a storm of worry. A simple disagreement can feel like the beginning of the end. This doesn't mean they don't know how to love. Quite the opposite, they love intensely, deeply, passionately. But underneath that passion lies a question that never stops whispering. Will you stay? Or will you leave me too? Mary Ainsworth saw this clearly in her strange situation experiment. When caregivers left the room, anxious children cried harder than most. When the caregiver returned, they clung desperately, seeking comfort, yet also showing anger or frustration. Their behavior was a reflection of love learned as unstable, love as something you fight to keep. In adult love, this can look like overanalyzing messages, doubting a partner's loyalty, or needing constant affirmation. The anxious heart beats fast, always on alert, scanning for signs of danger, terrified of losing the bond it cherishes most. But here's the truth that so many people need to hear. This isn't neediness. It isn't a flaw. It is a survival strategy. built in childhood to protect against the pain of inconsistency. The anxious partner doesn't want too much. They want what every human heart longs for: stability, reassurance, love that stays. So how does healing begin? The first step is awareness, noticing when anxiety drives your reactions. The second is self-soothing, learning to calm your body and remind yourself that fear is not always reality. And the third is seeking relationships where consistency is the norm, where love is steady, not conditional. Psychologists often say that anxious attachment can heal in the presence of secure love. When you experience a partner who stays, who doesn't run, who doesn't punish you for your needs, the nervous system slowly learns: I don't have to cling. Love can be safe. If you've ever felt consumed by worry in relationships, if you've ever asked, why do I love so much but still feel so afraid? This is your story. And the good news is, your story can change. Because the anxious heart, when healed, doesn't just love deeply. It loves with resilience, with clarity, with a trust that doesn't break at the first sign of silence. And in the next part, we'll explore the avoidant heart, the one that builds walls instead of bridges, the one that fears being trapped by the very closeness it secretly desires. Picture a child who reaches for comfort but finds rejection, irritation, or coldness. Maybe their caregiver was present physically but emotionally unavailable. Maybe showing need was treated as weakness. Slowly, the child learns a painful lesson. It's safer not to need anyone. To survive, they build a wall. They tell themselves, I'm fine on my own. I don't need love. I don't need closeness. On the outside, they appear independent, calm, even detached. But inside, their nervous system still longs for connection. It has simply buried that longing under layers of self-protection. Mary Ainsworth saw this in the strange situation experiment. Some children didn't cry when their caregiver left. They didn't run to them when they returned. They looked unaffected, as if the absence didn't matter. But hidden behind that mask, their bodies told the truth. Higher stress, faster heartbeats, silent pain. The calm was a disguise. The detachment was survival. As adults, avoidantly attached individuals often struggle with intimacy. They may enjoy closeness at first but then feel suffocated. They may withdraw during conflict, shut down instead of engage, or use independence as a shield. Commitment feels threatening, not because they don't want love, but because love has always been linked with disappointment. If you've ever been with someone who pulled away the moment things got serious, or if you felt the urge to retreat when someone got too close, you've seen avoidant attachment at work. The avoidant heart isn't cold. It isn't incapable of love. It is simply a heart that learned closeness comes at a cost. And so, it protects itself the only way it knows how, by keeping distance. Healing begins with small, deliberate acts of vulnerability. Allowing oneself to express needs, even in tiny ways. Choosing to stay present in conflict instead of shutting down. Practicing trust with safe, consistent partners. Each small step teaches the nervous system that intimacy doesn't have to mean pain. Avoidant attachment is not a life sentence. It is a story written long ago, but one that can be rewritten with patience and compassion. Because behind the wall is not emptiness. It is a heart still longing to be seen, accepted, and loved. So if you recognize yourself here, take heart. Independence can coexist with intimacy. Walls can become doors. And distance can become closeness, when fear is replaced with trust. We've seen the anxious heart always reaching out, and the avoidant heart always pulling back. But what happens when both forces collide inside one person? When love feels both desperately needed and dangerously unsafe? That's the story of the disorganized attachment style. And that's where we're heading next. Among all attachment patterns, the most complex, and often the most painful, is the disorganized attachment style. Imagine a child who looks to their caregiver for safety, but instead finds fear. The same arms that sometimes comfort also hurt. The same presence that sometimes soothes also overwhelms. The child is caught in a paradox. I need you, but I fear you. You are my shelter, but also my storm. How can a young heart survive this contradiction? The answer is chaos. Sometimes they cling desperately. Other times they retreat in terror. Their behavior looks confused, unpredictable, even contradictory, because their deepest instincts are at war. Mary Ainsworth's research revealed hints of this pattern, but it was Mary Main who named it disorganized. Later studies showed it was often linked to trauma, neglect, or frightening caregiving. The child grows up not knowing whether love is safe or dangerous, and that confusion follows them into adulthood. In romantic relationships, disorganized attachment looks like cycles of push and pull. One moment there's a desperate craving for closeness, the next a sudden withdrawal. Partners often describe it as walking on eggshells, never knowing whether they'll be embraced or rejected. The disorganized heart loves intensely, but it also fears betrayal so deeply that it sabotages the very intimacy it craves. If you've ever felt torn between wanting someone with all your soul and fearing their love at the same time, you may know this struggle. If you've ever asked, "Why do I ruin the very relationships I want to protect?" this paradox may be your answer. But here's something important. This is not madness. It is not hopelessness. It is the nervous system doing its best to manage impossible circumstances. What looks like chaos is survival. What feels like self-sabotage is actually protection learned long ago. Healing the disorganized heart often requires patience, therapy, and safe relationships where consistency is the rule. Trauma-informed therapy, especially, helps retrain the nervous system, teaching it that intimacy no longer means danger. Slowly, step by step, the heart learns that closeness can feel steady instead of terrifying. It's not easy, and it doesn't happen overnight. But just as fear was learned, trust can be learned too. The disorganized heart, when healed, becomes one of the strongest of all, capable of depth, empathy, and resilience that others can barely imagine. So now we've walked through the anxious, the avoidant, and the disorganized styles. But what about the last one, the one we all long for? The secure heart. What does it look like to love without fear, without panic, without walls? What does it mean to experience the kind of connection that feels safe, steady, and real? That's where we're heading next, to the secure attachment style, the love we all deserve. After exploring the anxious, the avoidant, and the disorganized hearts, we arrive at the fourth path, the one Mary Ainsworth first revealed in her research, the secure attachment style. In her strange situation experiment, securely attached children showed something powerful. They cried when their caregiver left. Of course they did, because separation hurts. But when their caregiver returned, they ran into their arms, found comfort, and then went back to play. For them, love was predictable. Comfort was reliable. The world felt safe enough to explore because home was steady. In adulthood, secure attachment looks like balance. Secure partners can give and receive love without fear. They can be close without losing themselves, independent without building walls. When conflict arises, they don't collapse into panic or retreat into silence. They communicate, repair, and move forward. But here's the part so many people miss. Secure attachment isn't about having a perfect childhood. It isn't reserved only for those who had flawless caregivers. Many people grow into security through supportive friendships, through healthy romantic partners, and even through therapy. This is often called earned security. What makes a secure heart? Consistency, trust, the ability to believe. I am worthy of love. Others can be trusted. Love doesn't vanish at the first mistake. With this foundation, intimacy is not terrifying, it's natural. And the best news is this: no matter what your attachment style has been, anxious, avoidant, or disorganized, you can move toward security. Awareness is the first step. Each time you notice a pattern and choose a different response, you are rewriting your story. Each safe connection you build lays down a new layer of trust. Imagine how different relationships could be if more of us understood this. If instead of judging our partners we could say, "I see your fear, I see your longing, and I choose to respond with patience and compassion." That is what Mary Ainsworth's work gave us. Not just theory, but the possibility of healing, of transformation, of love that feels safe. So I ask you, which attachment style spoke most to you tonight? Do you see yourself in the anxious heart, always reaching? In the avoidant heart, always retreating? In the disorganized heart, torn in two directions? Or in the secure heart, steady and open? Your answer is not your destiny. It is only your starting point. Because the truth is, we can all move closer to the secure heart. We can all learn to trust, to love, and to stay with ourselves and with others. And perhaps that is the most beautiful lesson Mary Ainsworth left us. Love can be taught, love can be healed, and love can be lived in a way that finally feels safe. This is the love we all deserve, the secure heart.